Here we are, another day closer to Christmas. That scares me. But with that being said, we have Ashley Quamme here for another 12 days of giving with an amazing, relatable client story. I'm very happy about this series coming out and for everyone to recognize the fact that we're in this thing called life together. We all know adulting sucks. Everyone can admit that. But we are here together. And with Ashley's background and everything that she does from more of the psychology and the mindset, this client story is going to be amazing. I can't wait for her to tell it. So Ashley, without further ado, the floor is yours.
Hi, thank you, Stoy. It's good to be here with you. And yes, closer to Christmas also makes me a bit anxious and nervous as well, as I think it does for most parents.
Yes.
Yeah. So I had this couple come to me, and just for context purposes for your audience, so I work primarily with couples who struggle with couple related issues, but also financial related issues. So when couples reach out to see me, they are coming in not to work with just the number side, right? They go to you for that. They come to me for more the relational difficulties that they are having. So I get a lot of couples in with just different varying degrees of severity. But I had this one couple reach out to me who was really struggling after their husband, after their partner actually got diagnosed with a brain tumor. And so you can imagine that that would be a difficult place for any couple. Just so that your audience is not like on edge and like, oh my gosh, like where is this going? This couple had come in and he was in remission. So they were in a better place, medically speaking. But they noticed that, understandably so, that when you have a brain tumor and then you go to have surgery, that there is some personality and there are some differences in one partner. And one of the differences was that this partner, the male partner, was a lot more impulsive with their spending. And so, this couple had been together for 20 some years. They had, a lot of like shared interests and meaning. They're together. They actually were very responsible, I would say, with regards to their savings, with regards to planning. And so then this medical diagnosis comes about and it throws them completely off course. And I think we've all had those moments, right, in our life where something comes in unexpected, maybe, and it throws us off course. And so now, fast forward, they're through the scary parts. For the most part, at least, right? They're through the scary parts of this. And they're noticing that the husband is spending impulsively. He went from being very responsible to now less than responsible, let's just say. I think the stereotype that we see is that, um, the woman is the one that's on Amazon with like all the Amazon boxes coming to the door, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Well, this is kind of the reverse flip of that. And so it naturally caused a lot of issues between the couple, a lot of issues. While financially they were in a pretty decent space, it was still the unexpected of who is this person? This isn't how we do things. So the narrative that they previously had around their financial relationship had shifted as a result. And so, they didn't know how to do things or operate in that space anymore. So they came to me looking for help, looking for how do we get to know each other differently around our finances? Like, how do we do this? What are our roles now? I thought this person was this way. This was what we had established. These were the, excuse me, rules for our relationship. Now they're different. And what the H do we do? Like, how do we navigate this space, Stoy? Like, it was hard. It was
Yeah.
hard. It was difficult. So they came in looking for help from me. Once we got through kind of the initial kind of ongoing onboarding process that I know many financial advisors have, and as clinicians, we have an onboarding process too. Then we were able to get into the good stuff, what I call the good stuff, all of the tears, all of the feelings, all of the, why is this not working the way that it is? And really what I call is, what do we want our wealthy marriage vision to look like moving forward? So this couple comes in and they're lovely and they're sweet, and we get through the onboarding process. And what I guess I appreciated about their vulnerability the most is that they were willing to get to know each other in a different way. I think I shared at the beginning, they'd been together for 20 some years at that point. I don't know how long you've been with your wife, but I've been with my husband for 17
Yeah.
years. Yeah, a long time.
Around 11, and I get it.
Yeah,
Yep.
right. Like you think you know someone,
Yeah.
right? And I guess for me, like the idea of having to go back and relearn somebody, I'm like, what? No, like
Yeah.
we don't do that in our marriage, right? You don't
No,
go, what
that's
do
what
you
my wife
mean?
and I joke about. Is like if anything ever happened, divorce, it doesn't matter. Like if something happened to us, the whole dating thing and learning someone again sounds terrible.
It does sound terrible. It sounds terrifying. I would be alone probably the rest of my life, more than likely. But for this couple, if you can imagine, there was this idea of having to relearn who this person was, particularly the wife, right? Because, she really kind of remained unchanged in a lot of ways, but her husband had changed. There were some differences there. And so he also had to figure out kind of who he was in that space. And so reaching out and working together, what I appreciated was their ability, willingness, and vulnerability to do that. Um, but I also appreciated how they took it in stride. They reached out for help. They said, this is not going well for us. We're not doing the things that we want. We're fighting. This isn't who we are, and we want to do it better. And they reached out for help. And, you know, through the course of probably a year, it took us about a year. Not a year coming every single week, but a year of like really hard work. They were able to, relearn who each other is. They were able to recreate different rules for their current relationship, but also their future. And they were able to have those financial conversations in a healthier way that no longer plagued them, no longer kept them stuck, that, felt a little bit kind of like maybe the golden or the earlier days. I shouldn't say the golden years, but like those earlier days, right? Where they felt that sense of connectedness.
I love that story from twofold. One, because you're talking about a traumatic event that happened to him, right? And that traumatic event has its own trauma tied to it. But then to have on the backside this different financial trauma, right? Because like the physical side, he's healed, he's good, he's healthy, but all of a sudden on the financial side, decision making has changed. That's a lot to go through. And do you know why? All right, let me back up. What triggered them? I know the trigger, but like why reach out to you specifically? Have you figured and tracked what that was for someone to be like, this is what I'm going through, and oh shit, yep, I need to go speak with Ashley?
Yeah, actually, their financial advisor, which, makes me like excited. So I think I shared like from a number standpoint, they really were fine. So while his spending had really increased, like it wasn't breaking the bank for them.
Yeah.
It wasn't financially putting them in a bad place, but it wasn't what they did. That wasn't who they were as a couple and as people. And so he was making impulsive, purchases that he didn't need. They made no sense and it was causing friction. The advisor, you know, bless his heart, you can tell him from the South, right?
Yeah,
Like,
right.
bless his heart. Like, he was like, hey, this isn't a numbers issue. Like, this isn't a numbers issue. Like, this
Yeah.
seems like it really would be best discussed maybe with a therapist, with someone else. But you guys are fine from a number standpoint. So he was the one that kind of planted the seed for them. Numbers wise, you're fine. But clearly, I see that you're in distress from, just a relational standpoint. So, talking with someone who has the expertise on the relational side of this may be what's helpful.
And you nailed it. So, literally just got off a call. There's a shift conference in March I'll be speaking about, and it's human first and talk about money mindset. Which will you be there for that one?
We will both be there. We get to
Uh,
we get to hug it out. Yeah.
yeah, this can be great. We speak about that as planners when I onboard. I shouldn't speak for everybody. because we're all not the same. We talk about your first money memory. We talk about traumatic event, and we really try to get the emotional side. And you had mentioned like tears and everything. And I'm not a psychologist by any means, but when you can, lack of a better term, break someone down to where the raw emotions are there, then the real work can begin. Numbers are numbers. It is what it is. I can do the numbers. 1 + 1 = 2. That's where we're going to go. But if I cannot get an understanding of who you are and what you're about, then the financial plan is irrelevant. I always relate it back to kind of like the diet fad, right? Everyone does a diet, thinks they're doing a diet, right? To get cut weight, whatever it is, in a very short period of time. Those that actually transform their life, it's more of a lifestyle diet, right? They incorporate it into who they are every day of their life. That's the same thing with the financial plan. You can't do, like, I can't hand you a pamphlet or, what we used to do the old school days. There was like a Bible, if you will. I can't throw that on you and say, hey, good luck, you're good for the rest of your life. It's not how that works, because we're always changing. And in your story with your clients, they were good, right? They were good. They're still good financially, but they lost something. And that something matters even more so, because even if they were fine financially now, that would have been a bigger divide later that would have caused some financial issue. That's just what we see. All that being said, how can we relate this back to everyday people, right? They had a traumatic event that triggered this, but every couple I've come across, not every, but most couples I come across, there's the spender, there's the saver, but there's also a rift financially no matter what the situation is. How can we relate that to people and get them to, reach out to one of us? I don't really care at that point, but like, how do we get them to do that?
Yeah, I think you actually hit some of it kind of on the head there, that we evolve and we are constantly changing. Who we were at 20 some years old, maybe when you met your partner, maybe when you got married, even just who you were as an individual, it is different than who you are in your 30s, 40s. Like, we are constantly changing. And so some of it is really being able to accept and say, I'm changing, and so is my partner, and so is our relationship. And the people that we are today, the things that we want today, may not be the same next year or in 5 years. I tell the story that when I started dating my husband in college, I did not want flowers because we had no money. And so it was, take me to go do something. Don't just buy me flowers that I'm probably going to kill. Like, take me to go do something. Now, fast forward, almost 20 years, right? Kind of later, I want flowers, and I want them like 4 times a year, actually. So if I had not informed my partner of that change, like, I would hold a lot of resentments for him, because he probably would not get me flowers because he's a good listener. He would have remembered what I said at 19 years old and still applied it for like 20, 30, 40, 50 years, right? But having that conversation of, we are changing. What was working for us then? Is it working for us now? And do we need help? Like, so often I see actually couples, and not just in therapy, but more broadly in society, is that they think that they have to get, in order to go to therapy, or maybe even seeking out a financial planner, is that something has to be wrong. Something has to be wrong. There has to be a problem in order for us to go and seek out help. And so, particularly with at least therapy, something doesn't have to be wrong. If you just want to be proactive, and this is even on the financial planning side of things, like, go seek out help from a specialist, from a person who does that work. It's okay to be proactive. It does require you to come off autopilot, maybe even practice a little bit of humility, in saying, I need help in doing this better, or wanting help in doing this better. But you don't have to sit around and just wait for a problem, albeit maybe, in this case, like the couple that I gave, like a severe problem, or even just on a small scale. You don't have to wait for a problem to come knocking in order to seek out help. You can do that proactively.
You absolutely can. And the most wealthy people in the world do that, both from a mental standpoint, from a fiscal standpoint. Like, they are seeking always to become better, and they have a team, right? Speak a lot about having a team. And the most wealthy people have a team to take care of all of those things, so they can focus on what they love and they're passionate what they're good at. That's why we have jobs. That's what we're here for. Our purpose is to create a better life for you and take the things off your shoulders that we can handle. And so from a lifestyle perspective, I believe everyone should have a therapist. I believe everyone should have a financial planner. To what degree do you use them? That depends on your situation. But
True.
you need to have that team in your back pocket. And it is way easier, better for everyone involved if it doesn't come with a caveat of, oh, because I had cancer, because of this is my trigger. That
Yeah.
usually means you're scrambling and emotional decisions, a lot of emotional decisions are being made. And those sometimes are harder to backtrace and backtrack to fix than it would be if, like, you're just saying, hey, Stoy or Ashley, I'm coming in. I believe we're good. Can you just do a checkup on us? Can we just talk through this? And then let us do our job to pull things and to improve where you're at. Way easier conversation, way easier to get into, and less heavy for you and less scary proposition to come into a meeting with, like, yes, we have all this debt. We just went through this traumatic event. That's hard and heavy. And I believe a lot of people in our society have something they're holding on to, which is making them scared to make that step to speak with us.
It takes a lot of courage to do that. And I think, I don't know, but I won't speak for you, but I know sometimes I probably forget that. Like, that it takes a lot of courage to be able to say, I want to do this better. And I don't have all the knowledge to be able to do that. It takes a lot of courage to say, I need help. And so I know sometimes, again, like I can kind of forget that because I work in a service-based industry where that is just what you do. And so sometimes I forget that not everyone has that experience, right? But you're right, having a team behind you makes it a lot easier to navigate life through. We have a team, right, with regards to our families. We talk about sources of support and having family support, and particularly going into the holidays. Maybe some of us are reevaluating whether they like that source of support or not. But we talk about sources of support from an emotional standpoint with family and things like that. In our financial lives, it's no different. Having an advisor, having even a financial therapist on board to help you from a behavioral standpoint, they're imperative, I think, to just living out, again, what I call your wealthy marriage vision.
Yeah. And you're right. I do forget that as well. Just because we're in it, since we're so knee deep in it, and there's so much good we can do, and we know that literally almost anyone we speak to, we can help, is why we forget that. But also on the flip side of it, to everyone out there listening who doesn't and has never hired anybody, we can see things that you can't see because of that same exact experience. And that is the purpose for hiring someone, even if it's on a short-term basis, is they can look at your situation and see things that you can't see because they've seen so many things, right? Like, even in your own world, your own life, your own job, if I came to you with whatever, you're going to be able to see things I can't see, right? And that all comes down to experience. I don't say it comes down to education. It just comes down to experience and life experience. Most of what I've learned is from client experience and stories, not because I have, a degree, all my licensing, my CFP and all of that. That's just book study stuff. Everything else comes from all the experiences that we garner from not only our clients, other professionals, and just reading and studying that. So please reach out to us and know that we can see things that you may not be able to. And that is the first value you can get from us.
I would add to that along with just the experience and being able to see things or help maybe, you know, help point out those blind spots that are there, is that what we offer, you and I, as professionals in this space, is the dedicated time and space to be able to think about something, an aspect of your life intentionally that more than likely you don't think about when you're outside of our office, right? Like when couples come in and they're talking about the financial aspects of their lives from a relational standpoint or just the couple aspect, I mean, I can't tell you how many times that I've heard them say, like, gosh, it's just so nice to have an hour to be able to talk about this with you, with someone ask us questions that we wouldn't ask ourselves, or we wouldn't even think about, asking or considering. So the value that you and I bring, because I have people say like, well, what does therapy really do, right? There's some skeptics
Of course.
still, right? And so the value is the dedicated time and space to think about an aspect or area of your life that you typically don't when you're out and about just living. And there is value to sitting down for an hour and thinking through questions, right? Whether it's with you on the financial side, whether it's with myself on the emotional, relational side, that space, it's hard to put a price tag to that.
It really is. And for everyone listening, we didn't mention investments or dollars or accounts or anything of that. If you're listening really deeply, we didn't mention anything about money or dollars. We mentioned about the emotions and the mindset and your ability to truly grasp who you are, what that means. And I want everyone to recognize that even more so. It's not about the money per se. The money is just a tool. Your own lifestyle and who you are matter the most and drive everything else. So just because you don't have a lot of money or you have a lot of money and it's a cluster, none of that matter. We don't care. Like that's fixable. Dollars are fixable. You are not. Your mindset, your emotions are not easily fixed. That's not I can just turn something on, turn something off type of situation. And until you can grasp that, the numbers are going to be different. And so I really want everyone to recognize the fact that we're not talking about that. We're not talking about numbers. We're talking about you, and you matter.
Absolutely. Very well said.
Anything you want to leave everyone with? Anyone, everyone, whatever. Want to leave people with?
Anyone and everyone.
Yeah.
First, going into the holidays, take care of yourself. Easier said than done sometimes, right?
Yes.
But actually, now is the perfect time to reach out. Getting ready to go into the holiday stress, it's easy for people to put off, like, I'll take care of me later. I'll take care of me after, right? And look, I'm guilty preaching to the choir here, right? But actually, now is the perfect time. If you've been listening and you're like, oh man, or like what they're saying kind of really resonates with me, go ahead and just make a phone call now, right? Make a phone call now, even if the appointment or meeting is not set up until January. But just go ahead and like take a few moments and do that now. Be proactive. Go ahead and give yourself a gift, right, of self-care and knowing that you're going to start working on some of these things and soon, right? Sooner than later. You're not just going to put it off. I think that would be the thing that I would leave folks with, knowing that they're coming into a really busy, chaotic season. And in fact, as I'm saying this, I'm like, oh gosh, like I don't have any appointments set up with my therapist, and I probably should go ahead and get some on the books. Knowing that January, February are not my best months, I
Yeah,
probably should go ahead and do that. So, I appreciate this time and space because I'm thinking about what I need to do as well.
absolutely. And this will become, as you guys listen to this and you want to know more about Ashley, her full podcast episode will dive into her business, who she is, and how she operates will be out before this. And I will also have that tagged in the description. So go check that out if you really love what we talked about here during the holidays, as well as reiterate, this is time for reflection. That's what the holidays are for. That's why this series is coming out at this point in time. You'll have more time off, more time to think. We really want to see you come January and February. We're here to help you.
The preceding program was sponsored by Black Mammoth. Any awards, rankings, or recognition by unaffiliated third parties or publications are in no way indicative of the advisor's future performance or any individual client's investment success. No award, ranking, or recognition should be construed as a current or past endorsement of Black Mammoth. Information regarding specific awards, rankings, or recognitions is available on the Black Mammoth website, www.blackmammoth.com. All investment strategies have the potential for profit or loss. Investment strategies such as asset allocation, diversification, or rebalancing do not assure or guarantee better performance and cannot eliminate the risk of investment losses. There are no guarantees that a portfolio employing these or any other strategy will outperform a portfolio that does not engage in such strategies. This broadcast should not be construed by any client or prospective client as a solicitation to affect or attempt to affect transactions and securities, or the rendering of personalized investment advice due to various factors, including changing market conditions. The information discussed in this broadcast may no longer be reflective of current positions or recommendations. While information presented is believed to be factual and up-to-date, Black Mammoth do not guarantee its accuracy, and it should not be regarded as a complete analysis of the subjects discussed. The tax and estate planning information discussed is general in nature and is provided for informational purposes only, and should not be construed as legal or tax advice. Listeners should consult an attorney or tax professional regarding their specific legal or tax situation. Past performance is not indicative of future results.